The City of Ohio State podcast takes a deep dive into the support services that keep Ohio State's Columbus campus running 24/7. Hear from industry experts in facilities, safety, transportation, and more. The City of Ohio State podcast is brought to you by the Office of Administration and Planning. Hello and welcome to the City of Ohio State podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Bartholomew. Last month, we chatted all things OTDI. This month, we're joined by several guests who have all played an integral role in the planning, building, and implementing of the Wexner Medical Center Inpatient Hospital. The hospital is the largest single facilities project ever undertaken at Ohio State and the largest single facility bed tower construction project opening in the U.S. in 2026. Right now, FDC is, in a way, handing the baton to the medical center as construction wraps up and the medical center team begins training and simulations to orient and train 12,000 faculty, staff, and learners. First, we're joined by Kristen Poldeman, who is the Associate Vice President of Facilities Design and Construction, or FDC, and Reagan Falling, who is the FDC Executive Project Manager for the Inpatient Hospital. We'll be joined by Karen Sharp with the Medical Center in just a moment, but first, thank you both for being here.
Great to be here.
Thanks, Brooke.
First, I want to talk about the exciting milestone of the hospital being at substantial completion. So could you explain what that means?
Yeah, happy to explain that. So substantial completion means the project is essentially finished and ready to be used for its intended purpose, even if there's still several things left to finish. So at this point, we've turned over the floors for fit up and activation, but contractually getting to the point of substantial completion milestone is significant for us, and really it marks construction completion. We still have construction-wise punch list, which every project has, and depending on the size of the project, a punch list timeframe could vary. A project like this, several months of punch list is pretty normal. Maybe some of our smaller projects are 30, 60 days, depending on the situation and size of the project. So once you get substantial completion, really all major systems are complete. The building's ready. Only minor work, like I mentioned, punch list remains, such as touch-up, painting, cleaning, installing a few final fixtures, that type of thing. Separate from this contractual work that I talked about, we do have some post-construction work. I know Reagan's going to talk about that here in a moment.
And obviously, this massive of a building does not happen without the help and teamwork of many. So from architects to construction, what has the process been like working with such a talented and large team?
Absolutely. My favorite subject. So a project of this scale only happens through incredible partnership and teamwork. From our architects and engineers to the construction managers, all of the subcontractors, obviously so many to list, but let me just mention a few notable ones. Our architect, HDR, and locally design group, and our construction manager, Walsh Turner, joint venture, who've been the main team partnering with us to make this possible. But what's really special about this team is how intentional about what type of outcome we wanted from the start. We were very intentional about spending time talking about what success looks like, how we wanted to work together, how we'd resolve challenges when they came up. Because on a project this big, there's always some intense moments. You're spending years and years together, and that kind of collaboration builds real trust and respect. And I can honestly say I'd work with every one of them again.
And just by looking at the hospital, walking through the buildings, being in the rooms, you can tell the intention behind every design decision. So could you talk about what work is ongoing right now, Reagan?
Yeah. So one of the really critical aspects that's ongoing is what we call fit up. So John Stiles, who's really been one of the leaders since the inception of this project, is leading our team on the work to install all the equipment, IT, and furniture into the building. That includes about $250 million worth of work. It's 175,000 plus items that they're tracking. But our construction teams aren't finished yet either. So we have, for a few months, been talking about what we termed our 14 plates that we had to keep spinning. The largest of those was getting all the floors finished and turned over. And as was just mentioned, we've reached substantial completion for those, and we're able to put that one down in the side. But continue to focus on the remaining pieces that are still ahead of us. Probably the most important of those is getting to full building final certificate of occupancy. So we have a number of tasks we're watching for those. As we got partial occupancy, there was a list of exceptions that was created, and we're looking at checking all of those off. So that includes things like completing the major medical equipment and the electrical connections for those things like MRIs, CT scanners, even the booms, as well as things like systems furniture that gets powered up or ice makers that get connected to the plumbing. So that's one critical piece that we're working through. We also have work ongoing for what we call punch lists. As we get to substantial completion, the architect and the rest of the design team goes through and makes sure that everything is exactly how they intended it to be, and create a list of little imperfections that we need to work through. So our team is tracking thousands of those, given the scale of this project, and trying to get all of those closed up in the next 1 to 2 months. And then finally, we do have a list of change orders that we talk about as being post-construction turnover changes that we had to extend out beyond the substantial completion of the main project, just given the time when they were identified and issued to move forward.
And what special projects have been included in this?
Sure. In that list of changes, there's a few really kind of fun and interesting ones. As we work through workflows, one of the things that was really apparent was that the connection to the parking garage was really critical. And so we created a garage enhancements effort to really make that experience more robust. As all of our patients and visitors that are parking in the garage, we want it to be a good experience to be able to drop off their loved one at that entry point and have it feel immediately like they're coming into the hospital space. And the same thing on the pickup side. So that's a really neat one that we're working through. A couple other ones are really on our public-facing side. So we're working through adding 2 large digital walls in the ground and second floors, which are both public spaces, that will recognize all of the many wonderful donors that made the project possible. And that should be a really neat and inspiring piece to go in there. And then finally, I'm really excited about in the crossroads on the second floor, we have an element that will divide the space between a large seating area and the high traffic space, and create a little bit of a separation there. And we're doing that with a really interesting art piece that was inspired by some research photography that was done of some medical research pieces. So that's going to be really cool. We're looking to get that installed in early November.
Now that we are seeing everything really coming to fruition, so much hard work, so many years in the making, how is that?
Oh, it's incredible. So I've been, I'm trying to think, I was thinking about this Friday when we did the lighting of the Block O. We've been nearly a decade working on collectively all of what we call the time and change projects, which is very rewarding for me, because I remember when we started planning with the Med Center team on those things, and I remember early meetings sitting over at our office in Ackerman, and just starting to get the meetings together and just kind of figuring it out, to actually seeing the building. It went so quickly. But it's amazing to see how the Med Center is going to use these amazing spaces for, the miracles that they're going to perform. So that's a little bit emotional, but also as an architect, just kind of having your hand on, that amount of work is sort of like a once in a lifetime experience.
Absolutely. Reagan, how does it feel for you?
Yeah, it's so incredible. And to think back to about 6 years ago when I joined the team for this project, and all the work that's gone into getting it here. And the medical center provides such amazing patient care, and to be able to bring them a facility that's up to the same level as the care that they provide is really neat. And to think about how this will be really an asset, not just for Central Ohio, but for the entire state, as a care provider that really touches all the communities around us.
Reagan, thank you so much for joining us and for all of your important work on the hospital.
Thanks, Brooke.
Now I want to welcome Karen Sharp, who is the director of the Inpatient Tower Activation with the Wexner Medical Center. Karen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Brooke. It's great to be here.
So your team has been working hand in hand with the FDC team as the building reaches substantial completion. What's currently happening as your team prepares to begin training staff?
We've been working closely with the FDC team for the past 2 to 3 years, and our focus currently is on building readiness and people readiness. So building readiness is really all of the equipment that's been loaded into the building, making sure that it's tested and ready for patient care, and that our supplies are stocked. So with over 7,000 rooms in the building, we'll start stocking the first week of October, and we'll continue that activity all the way up until February ahead of our opening. Our second focus is on people readiness, and the primary item here is training and orientation. So starting in November, we'll start training and orientation for, as you mentioned, over 12,000 of our faculty, staff, and learners who will be working in or supporting the new facility. So another component of people readiness are our dress rehearsals or simulations. So we'll hold 3 simulation-based dress rehearsals, each about 6 weeks apart. We'll have over 1,000 faculty and staff in the building each day, testing both the facility and our workflows. And each day of the dress rehearsals will tackle progressively more complex scenarios as we go along. And then we'll incorporate what we learn from these dress rehearsals into training and workflow adjustments.
So what do those training simulations look like? What are you guys doing during them?
Each of these days of dress rehearsals is meticulously scripted. So our operational team started working on the scripts back in the spring, making sure that all of the key scenarios were represented. All of the participants in the dress rehearsal will have specific roles, so facilitator, scenario coordinator, recorder. And then on the day of the dress rehearsal, everyone will arrive in the morning and then navigate to their operational area. And then an overhead announcement at, I think at 9 o'clock in the morning, will start the first round of scenarios. And then following that first round of scenarios, we'll break for lunch, and then we'll have 2 additional rounds of scenarios after lunch. We'll conclude each day with a debrief session and review of issues. And then our goal will be to resolve all of the issues from dress rehearsal 1 prior to dress rehearsal 2, and before dress rehearsal 3, so that we are completely ready to go when it's time to open the building.
And after multiple trainings take place, medical staff will move over 400 patients to the new hospital all in one day at the end of February. That will be an incredible day, and I am just wondering how you even plan for something like that to be executed.
Yeah, all of the preparations that we're doing now will lead up to our patient move and the official opening of the new university hospital. So our targeted patient move day is February 22nd, 2026. And on this day, we'll start very early in the morning with a final review of all of the patients in the hospital that day. At 9 o'clock, we'll begin our move with 5 tracks of patients moving simultaneously. We'll move all of our patients in one day, as you said, and we're expecting to move around 420 patients, ending the day approximately at 5 p.m. in the afternoon. So we have a committee in place now that's planning every detail of the move. Our clinicians move patients all the time, so this isn't new, but moving this many patients in one day certainly is. In fact, our move will be the largest single facility move in the U.S. in 2026.
So impressive. And once those patients are moved over, a lot of people are wondering what will happen with Rhodes and Doan.
Yeah. So we will begin closing out the space that were vacated as soon as the move is complete. Some clinical services will remain in Rhodes and Doan, and some areas will be teed up for future development.
And for any listeners who follow our construction updates, maybe on Building the Future or the Medical Center social media pages, you've probably gotten a glimpse at some of the amazing features of the new hospital. From massive windows in each private patient room to even birthing tubs in the maternity unit, it's very obvious how much thought and planning has gone into this over the years. So can you talk about some of your favorite features and how these will really enhance patient care for the entire state of Ohio?
Yeah, I think that is my favorite question. And I would say it comes down to the size both of the ORs of our operating rooms and the patient rooms. And really thinking about how that improves not only the patient experience in giving patients and their families more room to be in their space, in their patient room, but also the staff and the physician experience so that our ORs are less crowded. There's a lot of equipment that we have in our ORs now, more room in our ORs, and more space in the patient room. So the staff experience is certainly a part of that. I think the other thing I would call out is that we have a unique artwork program, and it's designed to recognize the 88 counties that the medical center serves. So patients, visitors, and even staff who work at the medical center can all see artwork representing the county that they're from, if they're from Ohio, as they're navigating around the hospital.
Thank you so much for your time today, and thank you both so much for the important work you're doing. I cannot wait to watch how this hospital changes the lives of so many Buckeyes and people across the entire Buckeye State.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Brooke.
The City of Ohio State podcast is brought to you by the Office of Administration and Planning. Until next time, be kind and go Bucks.